Devil May Cry, a series full with action, demons, and funny lines. But when you have played them all, what the heck do you do now? I'm here to help you with that. These games give you that feeling of violence you need. This is 8 great games like Devil May Cry. Let's start with number 1. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is if Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden had a baby that did cocaine while playing an electric guitar on the roof of a yacht going through a typhoon. This game will personify that. Third-person action hack and slash game with some epic boss battles. You play as Raiden, who is a cyborg ninja slash human hybrid. The story begins with Raiden working security detail for the president of an African country. They are attacked by the Desperado, a private military company, and their leader, Sundowner, kills the president in Mani. I will avoid spoilers by giving the details of the story here. The main character Raiden has a basic blade which he uses to slice up enemies. Later down the game you gain additional weapons and even a new blade near the end of the game. Raiden can use light and heavy attacks by left and right clicking respectively. You can create a lot of combos using these attack combinations and even unlock new moves with the in-game currency. There's a parry move which can be used to block almost every attack in the game. Though some attacks will still hurt Raiden, like the last boss battles, you have to hit the direction of the enemy and your light attack button at the same time to be able to successfully parry an enemy attack. When an enemy attacks you, they will have a red light go off in their eyes, and this is your chance to parry. A good practice in parrying is your key to beating this game, otherwise some of the bosses will have you raging. Successful parrying of an attack will block the enemy's attack, and an electric current can be seen as visual confirmation of a successful parry. When you've nearly killed an enemy, you can also go into blade mode and try to hit the red box which prompts up on the enemy, or with successful hit on the box, Raiden will rip out the enemy's heart out and crush it with his bare hands. This will refill both his fuel cell energy bar and health bar. When you've almost killed an enemy, you may also get a prompt in Japanese to attack in blade mode or a series of quick time event moves. A lot of boss battles will also make use of the QTEs. But anyway, I think I have said enough about this game. It just appeals to the male fantasy. Number 2. Doom Eternal. Okay, hear me out. You might be thinking, why is this first person shooter on the list? When you look at Devil May Cry and this game, it has a lot of similar things. Rooms where you have to kill every enemy in the room to proceed. Small puzzles. Lot of different weapons you can upgrade. Fast-paced combat, and the story is pretty awesome. You know, everything that makes Devil May Cry epic. But be prepared. This game is a bit difficult, because I've played this game on easy mode and I still got a lot of challenge, but thankfully the good kind. At the end of the game you will feel like a god killing everything in your way. This game is on my top 5 games of 2020, so I definitely think you should try this game at some point. Number 3. NieR Automata. I have already talked about this game in my PlayStation 4 video, but I give you just a quick overview. You kill a lot of robots, and you have to find material to upgrade your weapon or create new ones. You have to play the game 3 times, but see it from a different character perspective to get the real ending. And finally, the music is just fantastic. Buy the soundtrack at some point. Number 4. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm sure this is massively different than most Assassin's Creed games, but that is what drew me in. I never dreamed they would make an RPG, a good one at that. This game is phenomenal. There is so much to do. From fighting the front lines in Battlefield from against Athens, or Sparta if you want to keep history logical. As you level up, killing bad guys becomes more and more routine and easy thanks to unlocked abilities. The naval combat system feels refreshed and it's fun to ram ships around and roam freely, hunting mythological creatures, to assassinating public figures, to hunting down cultists who have their fingers deep so far into Greece they control literally everyone, to just plain walking around doing mindless work for people willing to pay a pretty penny. There is just so much to do in this game. If you love Greek culture, RPGs and just plain exploring, this is it. Even if none of those interest you, I promise it's worth a look. Number 5. Darksiders War Mastered Edition. You know, sometimes a game can just be fun. Darksiders is fun. It's the most video game to ever video game. It wears its inspiration on its shoulders, taking the best mechanics from what other games did well and mixes them up into a game that's satisfying to play. That's what Darksiders is, and that's what it does. The comparisons you have heard from others is right. It's heavily inspired by Zelda and God of War. The puzzles are satisfying to solve and utilize the new weapon you obtain in each section of the game. Each puzzle offers plenty of verticality and requires some lateral thinking to solve them to keep things fresh. Between puzzles, you will often be fighting off the denizens of hell with your comically oversized sword. Combat feels visual and satisfying, and will feel right at home for anyone who has played other character-based action games. While it's not as deep or as complex as Devil May Cry 5, the combat system is still very solid and gives you enough options to make things up and approach combat however you liked. You have options to go all out in one-on-one encounters, juggle enemies and use other weapons for crowd control, which all keep you on your toes from fight to fight. But if I must say something negative about this game, the boss fights are a bit unbalanced and the combos just stop sometimes. But whatever. On a Steam sale, this game is extremely cheap, so I think you should just get it. Number 6. Bionetta. This game was released in 2009 and still holds up as being a phenomenal game and hardly shows any age in terms of gameplay. The story is wacky and over the top. Bionetta is sassy, cool and charming, and all the characters within the storyline are unique and individual. Each of the characters' personalities are pretty extreme and exaggerated, but with the intention of making you laugh, have fun and preparing you for the wild ride. While the majority of longer cutscenes and character interactions are delivered in a budget-friendly motionless comic style, they still convey plot points well and are entertaining. The cutscenes that are fully animated are incredibly fun to watch and action-packed. They include ridiculous feats such as kick-flipping a motorcycle and creating a 100-bullet barrage that penetrates a blockade of lava. What makes this game truly great is the combat. After you understand dodge offset, which really should be taught in the tutorial, the control system then slowly begins to meld with your mind. The game feels great to control and becomes more natural over time. Even after completing the game 3 times, it is still a joy for me to play, which just shows how well executed the combat system is. It also helps that there is a solid amount of freedom and creativity in how you structure combos, and that there are a plethora of different weapons to unlock which all control uniquely. Something you really need when you fight some of the most powerful angels in the world. And let's pray that someday we will get Bionetta 2 on PC. Number 7. Castlevania Lords of Shadow Ultimate Edition. First off, this game is not a game for everyone. It has some problems like the strange hitboxes, which seem a bit off sometimes. You can get hit even though the enemy's attack actually didn't reach you and things like these, but this happens rarely. The other negative point is the static camera, which sometimes positions not very ideally, preventing you from viewing parts of the screen and sometimes missing hidden areas. But while that said, this game has a beautiful world, long story mode and awesome voice acting. Your weapon is a whip-like chain that lets you perform direct attacks to center on single enemies or aerial attacks for groups of enemies. You can mix these attacks and also learn new movesets and combos the more experience points you gather. These combos and attacks can be combined with the light and shadow powers you receive throughout the game. That way you build up a nice plethora of combos and movesets at your disposal, which gives the combat system enough depth to not get boring. In short, do you love European medieval Gothic art styles and are looking for an action game with nice visuals and somewhat meaty combat system? Try it. And finally, number 8, Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. I will say that this game is most comparable to the action platformers of the PS2 and GameCube era. You are given a series of levels to complete that you have killing enemies, collecting various loot, upgrading stats and taking down a boss before proceeding to the next level. It's relatively straightforward, but it's oddly nostalgic in a way. It reminded me of the day when you didn't need a bunch of fluff to sell a video game. The devs had a clear vision in mind here, and they just kinda went with it, and I kinda respect that. The combat actually has a good amount of depth to it. I was expecting your simple 2-button mashing game, but there's a lot more to the combat here than just that. You have got parries, dodging, counter attacks, ranged attacks and weapon swaps that can be performed mid-combo. I will find myself dashing into an enemy and dealing a few attacks, firing off a quick arrow to stagger the ranged enemy in the distance, before parrying the enemy in front of me for a free attack and dash towards that ranged enemy I just staggered. The combat has a really good sense of flow here. So with that said, I will say that Samurai Jack Battle Through Time is worthy of recommendation. It's a solid action platformer with some nice combat, a cool aesthetic and an overall nostalgic style of gameplay reminiscent of the PS2 and GameCube days. It may not have much in the way of a story and the combat isn't perfect, but I had a good time doing the 7 hours that it took for me to complete the game. It's definitely worth a look for fans of the series, or really anyone that's a fan of the 3D action platformers of old. Ever since I played the first Devil May Cry on my PS2, it was an epic experience. And I'm just so happy there are so many games like it. And let's hope they continue making these kinds of games and make their own versions like Nintendo's Astral chain. But anyway, what is your favorite Devil May Cry game? Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like. If you want to see our future updates on the channel, please click the subscribe button and click that notification bell. I'm Riyad, and as always, I will see you next time right here on Omega's Movie.